Been seen before racing elements, a minimum prize pot of €100,000, and the ultimate Formula E driving experience. 24 racers from the world of motorsports and esports will go up against each other on rFactor 2 over 6 25-minute races. And this time they'll have to master energy management and attack mode, translating the challenges of real-world Formula E racing into the virtual world more accurately than ever before. Qualifying for each race will take place as part of the race show in the same familiar format we're used to in Formula E. 4 groups of 6 drivers going out one at a time with one flying lap to earn their grid position. Further combining the real and virtual worlds, each competitor will score Formula E Accelerate points for a real-life Formula E team, with the grid for the competition being made up of direct invites and those that achieve the best times in the online qualifier. During that qualifier stage, lap times were set by some of the biggest names in sim racing. There was barely 0.05 of a second between the top 3, meaning that the competition is going to be tight, and high-intensity racing can be expected. The races will take place on inch-perfect detail recreations of real Formula E circuits, like Berlin's Tempelhof Airport, Hong Kong Harbourfront, Red Hook in New York City, and more. The first of the 6-race series kicks off with round 1 on the 28th of January, with the winner crowned in March at the grand final, where double points will be up for grabs. Sam Bird, Alex Lynn and Alan McNish will be joining the team in the studio for round 1, with some great driver and strategy insight. When it comes to electric sim racing, this is as big and as challenging as it gets. Will the world's best sim racers rise to the challenge and show their ability to master electric racing in its most realistic form yet?
The future of racing is electric.
The future of racing is electric.
Motorsport is in an important phase of transformation.
We see more and more racing series going electric.
Well, the future of racing at the top level is certainly moving towards fully electric, pushing the boundaries of what's possible as always.
The trend clearly shows that the future of racing is more electric, sustainable and greener.
And it's sometimes easy to forget how radical ABB Formula E seemed when it was launched.
Hello, it's Thursday evening, which means it's time for Formulary Accelerate. I'm Jack Nichols.
And I'm Darren Adjatossier, and you're very welcome to our studio, our 100% strict COVID bubble here in the heart of London, England, broadcasting to you live.
And thanks for joining us. It's round 3 of our series, which has attracted the best sim racers on the planet, representing the 12 Real World Championship teams at the Real World Championship tracks on rFactor 2.
Yeah, and they're racing at home on rigs like this for a prize pool of €100,000 and for the winner, a drive in a real Formula E car. I'm curious to know, who do you think is going to get it? Or who do you want to get it? Let us know using the hashtag and tag us in. We'll be all across our socials as well as in the comments of the stream. So, tell us stuff, ask us stuff.
And we'll include it if it's interesting enough. Speaking of interesting, racing drivers. We've got Abby, Ethan and Oliver Turvey joining us this evening, and we'll also be joined on that screen by Lucas Degrassi later, all the way from Brazil.
Yes, very exciting. 24 competitors and 6 rounds to decide. Round 1 was in New York, round 2 was in Hong Kong, and this week for round 3, a bit of a clue here, we're going to be racing on the concrete of Berlin's Tempelhof track, the site of the dramatic and intense Formula E Season 6 conclusion last August.
Tonight, drama and intensity guaranteed here in our converted Formulary kitchen at H-Quarters. It works and everything. People were asking last week whether the tap works. Look at that.
There we have it.
Want a drink?
I'm all right, actually.
Oh, OK, fine. Anyway, in case you missed last week's show, where were you? Never mind. Here's Darren to bring you up to speed.
Round 2 of FE Accelerates was a showdown on the streets of Hong Kong for our 24 esports drivers. And after New York's opening race, a chance to see the championship contenders emerge. Erhan Yayovsky was on pole position for the second time, with Fredrik Rasmussen joining him on the front row.
Round 2 of Formulary Accelerate is underway.
Race 1 winner Yayovsky immediately dived to take the inside line into turn 1, preventing Rasmussen from passing at the first hairpin, with Marius Gollenbeck hot on their heels in the opening stages. Envision Virgin Racing's Graham Carroll slotted into 5th, with a neat move on Martin Stefanko, as the Scot looked to make amends after forfeiting a second-place finish in New York due to a penalty. Mahindra Racing's Ollie Pakala was an early beneficiary of attack mode, using the power boost to pass Jan van der Heide on the back straight, and as in New York, energy management and attack mode would come into play heavily.
In Formula E you have this unique stuff like attack mode and energy saving, and that's a really big challenge because you need to use your brain like whole time of the race, because you always need to think, can I push now or shouldn't I push, should I wait? And I never had the feeling that I need to think during the race as much as I did now in the Formula E races.
On lap 5, pave was spun around in an incident that would later see Nissan's Mark Gassner penalised.
Kevin Ciggy on the attack up the inside of Marius Gollenbeck, almost feeds him into the wall. The two stay side by side, but Ciggy's through then, up into 3rd place.
After a disaster in New York, race at home champion Kevin Ciggy looked to have come back stronger as he made attack mode count in a pass on Marius Gollenbeck.
Started P4, which wasn't the best. Getting Marius in front of me was not the best of ideas, because then I lost a ton of time sitting behind him because he was much slower than the guys in front. So getting past him was really important. I was trying my best just to kind of keep close to him before taking the attack mode, which I did, and I overtook him. Hong Kong is one of the hardest tracks to overtake at.
Out front, Yayovsky stretched his legs, pulling a lead of nearly 3 seconds over Rasmussen in what looks to be a repeat of the Rocket Venturi driver's emphatic win the last time out. Graham Carroll made use of his second attack mode to pass the Porsche of Gollenbeck at the halfway point in the race.
Carroll is going to get 4th position here. Gollenbeck swings it wide. The Scot is through.
By this stage, Fredrik Rasmussen had already clawed back some of the time lost to leader Yayovsky thanks to some shrewd energy management, and began closing in.
I had a really nice gap of 1.5 to 2 seconds, and I thought I was controlling the race. It was nerve-wracking seeing Rasmussen on my tail for the last final couple of laps, but I tried to stay calm and just finish my job.
Look how close the leaders are. This is the opportunity, bit of a slide. But Yayovsky looks to the inside, he's not close enough.
The North Macedonian kept his cool to make it 2 wins from 2 in a real statement of intent going into round 3 of the championship.
After 2 poles and 2 race wins, I feel really great and motivated to work even harder for the next races. We are still at the beginning of the championship, so everything can happen, but I'm trying to push the limits even further.
So this is how last week's racing affects the standings, and unsurprisingly, it's Yayovsky who tops it, 25 points clear of Kevin Ciggy, whose brace of 3rd places has him as Yayovsky's nearest challenger. But there are some big names struggling. For example, the Mercedes-Benz EQ team in 7th and 9th in the standings.
Yeah, so let's take a closer look at the team. I mean, on paper, they have one of the strongest pairings on the grid. Jarno Opmeer being the reigning F1 esports champion, and Bono Huis won the Vegas E-race. Now, both scored points in the first race in New York, but failed to score in Hong Kong. That being said, after a disappointing qualifying, I think it's fair to say they gained a lot of points, Jack.
Yeah, knowing they weren't starting in the best position, they saved up their attack modes to use at the end of the race, almost at the same time on many occasions. Here's Jarno Opmeer activating his attack mode and using that to pass Kuba Brzezinski's Jaguar down into turn 1. They were all squabbling over 10th position at the time, but when they worked in unison, it meant that Bono Huis in the other Mercedes could follow through on the Jaguar. Now watch on the exit, Huis puts the Jaguar in the wall a little bit, which he later received a penalty for. They both nearly got 10th place at the line, but Nikodem Wisniewski managed to hold on. Like I say, in the end, both Mercedes actually got time penalties, which knocked them back down the order, but they clearly demonstrated some smart strategy in the use of their attack modes.
Yeah, some smart strategy indeed, which is worth keeping an eye on in the race. In other news, Kelvin van der Linde is actually missing this week, racing in real life in Dubai. Yeah, I know, he's with all the other influencers. So in his place is Michi Hoyer, driving for Audi as a one-off. He's a 28-year-old German sim racer, and he was actually the 6th quickest in open qualifiers from Formula E Accelerate.
There he is.
Oh,
there he
we
is.
have him.
Now, the fact he was that quick in the qualifiers and didn't manage to get a seat shows how competitive the series is, because last year he won the rFactor 2 GT Challenge and he finished 3rd in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship. So really looking forward to seeing what he can do.
As am I. And now we're actually only a few minutes away from seeing how they all get on in qualifying. But first, let's take a look at who we have on our show.
Oh, that's a great move from Abby Eaton. A first ever podium for Oliver Turvey. It's victory for Lucas Degrassi. Lucas Degrassi is the Formula E champion.
Yeah, we've got Lucas Degrassi coming up later on. Abby Eaton is here, and also is Oliver Turvey. I nearly called you Oliver Rowland because of last week, but we have Neo333's Oliver Turvey in a segment of the show I like to call Knowing Neo, Knowing You. Oliver Turvey, how are you doing? How are you excited to be here?
Yeah, no, very excited to be here. So looking forward to the race. I think it looks really competitive. All the sim races are really high level, so really excited to see the race around Berlin today.
What about you in real life? Because obviously we've got the season starting in Diriyah. You've been testing even until quite recently.
Yeah, we had a test yesterday actually in the cold conditions, but it was yeah, no, just the final preparations really, and yeah, been working with the team on the sim as well. To prepare for Riyadh, and really looking forward to getting back out on track and to the double header under the lights. So it's going to be an exciting start to the season.
So you were in England doing this testing yesterday. So what's that? 0 degrees or 1 degree cent? Like, is that the coldest?
It was negative, yeah, minus.
Really?
Yeah, in the morning and the evening.
Is that the coldest you've ever driven a car in?
Probably, yeah.
And what did, like, are you struggling to push buttons? Are you, or is it all right?
It's okay in the car when you're in the car. I mean, it's more the feet, to be honest. Because you get a bit of airflow in the car.
Yeah.
And my toes were like frozen, so I could hardly feel my feet.
Okay. Now going into the new season, there's quite a lot of changes at 333 Racing, aren't there? Because obviously last year was a bit difficult. You must be optimistic of a better one.
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot of changes last season, and you know, I think the team have put a huge amount of effort into the Season 7 powertrain, and everyone's been working extremely hard, and definitely there's a lot more optimism going into this season. So, yeah, it's you know, I'm really looking forward to it. I've been training hard, working hard, so you know, feeling good, and really just can't wait to get out on track, and yeah, can't wait to get to Riyadh, really.
Now, a couple of years ago, Formulary asked all of the drivers who was the most underrated driver in Formulary. This is what they said.
I really think the most underrated driver at the paddock is Oliver Turvey.
Oliver Turvey?
Probably Ollie Turvey.
Probably Oliver.
Oliver?
Probably Oliver Turvey.
He has done a fantastic last 2 seasons with Neo, beating Piquet, and this year also very ahead of his teammate.
A first ever podium for Oliver Turvey, and there is delight at Neo.
I know if he's still underrated, actually, because a lot of people will agree that, that he is.
So that's an interesting point from Maro Engel at the end. Do you still feel underrated?
I guess not within the peers in Formulary, I guess. So it's nice to be, it's nice to hear these comments, and obviously to be recognised by other drivers for doing a good job is nice. And I think been pushing hard always in Formulary, and hoping to have more success in the future.
Okay, better to be underrated than overrated, probably. Ollie will be joining me in commentary for the race later on, but before we can race, we must qualify, and we're only 2 minutes away from Group 1 starting their outlaps.
So it's probably a good idea to take a look at Berlin's Tempelhof circuit, and look who's magically ended up in the sim. It's Abby. Abby, I know that you've raced here before. What is it like as a track?
It's quite technical. It was my first time around Berlin with the Jag I-Pace, so I actually raced in the second round where they did the track correctly, which is what we're going to show you in a second.
Awesome. Well, why don't you show us right now?
Quite a long pit lane. Goes on forever when you're starting that far back. Green light, so you can head out and put the limiter off. Turn 1 is really, really tricky. You'll be braking and turning in at the same time, so quite crucial to try and get this front apex here on the left. Let it drift out kind of a car's length and then bring it back over to the left-hand side again, just to get a nice straight run up to the next corner. Again, keep it tight on the right here to get a nice straight exit. Bring it back over to the right-hand side, brake in probably about 50 metres, and again, front left, inside apex, and then full power. And this is just flat out all the way through. Quite a long straight. Curves over to the right-hand side, so nice straight line for braking is crucial here. And this is where attack mode is as well. So if you go wider out there, that's where you need to activate attack mode, and it is really, really tricky to get it right. So see how many people end up missing that. Fast left-hander, again, quite tricky. Got to use all the road on the way out and flat around this right-hand kink into one of the first hairpins. So again, quite a hard break into here. And what I found into here, and as well with the Formula E drivers from watching their onboards, is quite easy to understeer. So neat and tidy out of there is crucial again. Into the last hairpin and last corner. Again, front needs to be hooked up, nothing like I've just done there. Really crucial to get a good exit out of here because it takes you on such a long straight.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Abby. Now, Jack has actually clambered into his commentary booth over there, which means it's time for qualifying to begin.
Yeah, looking forward to this. Qualifying about to get underway then for round 3 of Formulary Accelerate. And here's a look at the groups. They'll be going out in championship order, just like in the real Formulary Championship. So the top 6 will be out first. Erhan Yajovski, Freddie Rasmussen, Bono Huis, Marius Gollenbeck, Manuel Biancalila and Kevin Ciggy will be out in Group 1. Then we've got the sort of nearly men in Group 2. Capit, Carroll, Berliak, Gassner, Opmeer and Stefanko. And then we move down to those in the second half of the championship table as it stands. Jaroslav Honzik, Jiayu Zhang, Olli Pakala, Nikodem Wisniewski and Jan von der Heide out in Group 3 with Artur Layuk. And Group 4, we will see Michi Hoyer, the German, having his first race in Formulary Accelerate here at the virtual Berlin Tempelhof Airport, the iconic, historic airport that obviously played host to the end of Season 6. 6 races in 9 days. And who will seal pole position for this one? A reminder that Erhan Yajovski has taken both pole positions so far this season and both wins. There is also 3 points available for pole position. And there you can see Kevin Ciggy on his outlap. He's second in the championship, 25 points behind the championship leader, Erhan Yajovski. Now, Ciggy has qualified 4th on the grid on both occasions so far this season. He's gone 4th to 3rd in both races, so he'll be looking to qualify just a little higher because, especially in the first race in New York City, he was really frustrated with how his qualifying went. Here is Erhan Yajovski in the Venturi. You can see him putting temperature into the tyres. Obviously, only 1 outlap to get the tyres up to temperature. Just like in Formula E, there will be increased grip over the course of the session. And he's just coming up to the final corner now. when he will start his flying lap. The first driver on the track is Bono Huis. I'll keep you up to date with his lap times as he comes around as well. There is the Mercedes-Benz EQ Formula E team driver, and he's just coming under the left-hander now of turn 4 and then out onto the back straight. So he's the first driver on track. Kevin Ciggy is the last at the moment, so he'll be the last driver across the line. Huis does a 26.557 in sector 1 then, so that's the benchmark laid for the first sector as he comes down into the sweeping hairpin of turn 6. Here's Manuel Biancalila through the first sector. He's about a 1/10 of a second slower in the Audi e-tron FE06. And here's Huis now coming down into the hairpin. Yayovsky is slower than Huis here in sector 1. Bono Huis, having had everyone go through the first sector except for Kevin Ciggy, is still the quickest, and Ciggy does go quicker, so this is going to be a fascinating battle for pole position. Huis is coming through the middle sector. He's out onto the final stretch now. This should be a good benchmark lap time from the 26-year-old Dutchman from Maastricht, and he goes on a 1:07.226. Here's Yayovsky now into the final corner, and his middle sector is not quicker than Huis either, so I think we're going to see a new pole sitter for Formula E Accelerate. Here comes the North Macedonian across the line, and he only goes 3rd, behind Manuel Biancalila, behind Bono Huis, and Freddie Rasmussen moves into provisional pole position. Here comes Kevin Ciggy, out across the line now in the BMW, and Ciggy goes top, a 1:07.167. So he wanted to improve on 4th place in the first 2 races. He may well have done that with provisional pole position. Freddie Rasmussen in 2nd. Yayovsky, at best, will start 5th on the grid. So this has blown the Formula E Accelerate title race wide open. Fascinating start to qualifying. The first group is complete. Of course, we've still got 18 more drivers to come over the next 3 groups. But it's Kevin Ciggy who's quickest on a 1:07.166. Almost a 1/4 of a second quicker than Erhan Yayovsky in the Rocket Venturi racing machine. Well, I have to say, in all of our rehearsals that we do leading up to this, I always do a pretend throw to Derin and say it's Erhan Yayovsky at the top of the times, but not this time, it's Kevin Ciggy, Derin.
Not this time. Gosh, guys, what did you think? I thought I had my money on Erhan Yayovsky, but Kevin Ciggy is, of course, also a great driver. So, surprised? Did you expect it?
I think Ciggy's probably feeling like he's breathing down the neck of Erhan now. So, yeah, good on him to get that in nice and early and put the pressure on.
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, totally. I think he showed in the race at home how competitive he is, and I think, you know, he said the last few races he struggled a bit in qualifying, but today he really nailed the lap.
Yeah, he's on the top. It will be curious to see if he stays at the top. So, Jack, on to Group 2.
Yep, looking forward to seeing these Group 2 drivers out there on the circuit. Before we do that, I think we're going to have a little look at Kevin Ciggy's lap again. There you can see the old runways down the middle of the Tempelhof airfield, which is all a sort of national park at the moment. But this is the provisional pole position lap with Ciggy. You see the back end getting out on the way in, which is a trick that the sim racers use that you wouldn't do. I'm talking here not as a racing driver, but maybe Turvey would agree with me, and you wouldn't do that in the real world cars. But we see it in particular with the hairpins at Hong Kong and New York City, that is a way to flick the cars round in the game a little more. So that was the first sector for Ciggy. He did the fastest first sector of anyone. Freddie Rasmussen actually did the fastest middle sector. A little bit of correction on the exit, little brush of the wall actually there, and then lift and a correction coming through the quick left-hander of turn 7 and then down into turn 9, which is going to be a very big overtaking opportunity. This track, actually, it's worth pointing out, is going to be a lot better for overtaking than the first 2 tracks we've been at so far this season in New York City and Hong Kong. And then Ciggy through the final corner, neat, tidy, right lines, no real big dramas across the line, and a 1:07.166 is the time to beat. The benchmark laid down by Kevin Ciggy, and the second group of cars are now out on the circuit. Hashtag FE Accelerate if you want to get in touch on the social media, or of course you can get in touch on the YouTube chat. We're across that as well. And there's Graham Carroll in the Envision Virgin racing car. He's been a strong qualifier, 3rd in New York, 6th in Hong Kong. Out-qualified his teammate Tamer Benchik on both occasions, so we'll see what Carroll can do. Mark Gassner there as well. And he's had a best qualifying of 11th in the first race in New York, but he manages to climb up the order quite well, Gassner, and 11th and 19th on the grid have turned into a 7th and a 16th in the races. Martin Stefanko, another driver who impressed last time out. He stuck it 5th on the grid in Hong Kong, did Stefanko, from the 4th group of qualifying, admittedly, but the 22-year-old Czech is swinging his Jaguar through the first corner. I think really Graham Carroll's the one to watch in this, because if it wasn't for his post-race penalty in New York City, he would be the driver, one of the drivers, right at the top of the standings. And Johan Elfstrom is saying hi to the commentator. Hello. Says Jordan. Oh, everyone's saying hello to me on the YouTube chat. That's very nice of them. Makes me feel like I have friends. Here comes Martin Stefanko, then he's a 10th down in Sector 1 on Kevin Ciggy, and now we're looking at Jarno Opmeer in the Mercedes-Benz EQ. Now his benchmark really is his teammate Bono Huis, because Opmeer, the reigning Formula 1 esports champion, is only in his, well, 3rd race event on rFactor 2 at the moment. Graham Carroll is just 600ths away from Ciggy in Sector 1. And here comes Stefanko, who's done the fastest. He's done a very good middle sector. Peter Berliak's done a good middle sector as well. Where's this going to put Martin Stefanko? The answer is up into 4th place. Another good lap from the Jaguar driver. Here comes Jarno Opmeer. His first 2 sectors are solid enough. A little bit away from Ciggy in Sector 1, but he's got a chance of a decent run here. Berliak goes 4th. All of the time, Jajowski is getting pushed further and further down the order. Jarno Opmeer goes into 9th place, just behind Erhan Jajowski. Graham Carroll comes through, and he goes up into 7th position. So look at that, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, all filled in from drivers from Group 2. And Jajowski just slides further and further down the order, and this is something we see in real Formulary as well. You go out in Group 1, if you're adrift from the pace in Group 1, you get shuffled a long way back. If you're at the front of Group 1, you can kind of hold your position towards the front of the order. So this is really going to turn the championship on its head this afternoon at the halfway mark. Remember, another 3 races to come after the Formulary race in Diriyah. Kevin Ciggy then, top of the times, a 1:07.166 still. Rasmussen and Huis hold on to 2nd and 3rd, but then Peter Berliak in the other BMW I Andretti, 1st and 4th for BMW at the moment, slots into 4th position. Stefanko 5th, Risto Capit in the 333 up into 6th position. Carroll, Biancalila, Jajowski and Opmeer at the top 10. 12 drivers to go, halfway through qualifying, and Erhan Jajowski is down in 9th place, and that must be one of the sort of painful formats of this qualifying session, I would have thought, is if you go out in Group 1, you just see everybody else coming through, and therein Jajowski's watching himself fall further and further down the order. There's nothing he can do about it.
There's nothing he can do. I mean, Ollie, I know that people call you a bit of a qualifying specialist, so let's draw on your expertise. What did you make of Group 2?
Yeah, it was just so close at times, you know, every little detail matters. I think we saw Graham Carroll lose the rear in one of the corners, but also another great lap from Risto Capet in the Neo 333 car. He's P6 at the minute, and you know, he scored points in the first 2 rounds, and I'm sure he'll be pushing hard to get another good result tonight.
It's good stuff. Abby, does this make you want to join in when you're watching it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It makes me want to jump in and have a go myself, but I think I'd definitely be in Group 4, right at the back. I wouldn't be challenging these guys in Group 1 or 2.
Yeah, don't worry, I'd be right with you. Jack, okay, Group 3.
Yeah, another 6 drivers about to take to the circuit at Tempelhof. Letty says, send my regards to Turvey. We're rooting for him for the new season. So there you go. Oliver says thanks. Also, Hainish asks, do Formulary have any documentaries? There's a couple. I think there's a couple on the Formulary YouTube channel. There's also, of course, And We Go Green, the brilliantly named movie that Leonardo DiCaprio made, so you can catch up with that. It was on some streaming services in the UK. I'm sure it's somewhere now. Google it. Nikodem Wisniewski, big slide from him as he comes out of turn 4 and heads down the straight towards the hairpin left-hander, or the wide open left-hander really, at turn 6. There you can see Nikodem in the bottom left-hand corner. Very successful esports racer. Won the Le Mans 24 hours in the LMP2 class, along with Kuba Brzezinski. We think Nikodem Wisniewski might have left the pit lane before he was allowed to, so he is a long way up the road from everybody else, but we'll wait and see whether any punishment comes for him, racing in Jean-Eric Verne's car, taking a deep breath in as he comes towards the final couple of corners. We've also got Olli Pakala out in this session, and I wondered where his moustache was last time out. He messaged me saying it had gone, but hopefully it comes back. There we go. Interesting story from Olli Pakala. Look how close Arthur Leuk is to the back of Jan van der Heijden. They come across the line, maybe trying to get a bit of slipstreaming across the line, Leuk, because he hasn't had the best of times in qualifying, the young Frenchman. He was 24th on the grid in the first race, and then managed to improve a little bit for race 2, did Leuk, to 22nd position. Still struggling a little. Here comes Nikodem Wisniewski through the first sector, and it's a pretty decent first sector for him. Just under 2 tenths away from Kevin Ciggy. No further action for him leaving the pit lane, so that in the end is okay. Olli Pakala comes through sector 1 now. No one is really setting the timings alight at the moment. The quickest in sector 1 is Jan van der Heijden in the Nissan, who just keeps falling back a little bit in the races. On board with Arthur Leuk, and he is up behind van der Heijden, much more neat and tidy through the hairpin of turn 9. Here comes Wisniewski. Decent middle sector, actually very good middle sector for Wisniewski. That might save his lap a little bit, and he slots into 6th position ahead of Risto Capit. Jajowski now is almost out of the points-paying positions. Here comes Leuk and van der Heijden across the line, and van der Heijden goes up into 11th place. Arthur Leuk goes into 15th position. Olli Pakala jumps up the order, and he goes into 14th spot. Still got Jiayu Zhang and Jaroslav Honzik to come through. Honzik goes into 17th place, and here comes Jiayu Zhang in the Neo 333 Formula E team car, and Zhang goes into 18th position. So 6 drivers left to come. Some big names in there, actually, including a debutant in Michi Hoyer. But we'll wait and see what they can do. Not so good for Turvey's car this time around in qualifying, but you're right about him being a qualifying specialist there. And there was a stage where, even in not the greatest car on the grid, he was in the top 10 all the time. It's sort of in season 4 and 5, I want to say. So here are the cars that we have seen so far. Ciggy still on provisional pole position. Rasmussen second, Huis third, Berliak fourth, Martin Stefanko in 5th position. Wisniewski, Capit, Carroll, Biancalila and Jajowski, the top 10. Nikodem Wisniewski's under investigation again, this time for wall riding, which is where you run out, hit the wall and drive around on it, basically. Use it as like bumpers in bowling, basically, which is not really particularly allowed. So that's the end of Group 3, but we've got 6 more drivers to come. Some of them have got a real shot at getting up involved in the top spots. But Olli, I want to know, what does it feel like when you're in this kind of position and you're Jajowski and everybody else and you're just slipping down? There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. You just see how close the times are. He's only 2 tenths off, but he's just slipping down the order as more and more guys are putting in clean laps, and yeah, so obviously he's going to have to work hard in the race.
Yeah, we actually saw Olli Pakala and he looked furious, so I wonder how he's going to control his emotions before the race. Do you have any like pre-race control tips, like how you get your head in the game?
I think if the nerves are getting to you a little bit, just some controlled breathing, you know, just get your heart rate down, visualise what you've got to do and then just go for it.
What about you, Olli?
Yeah, sometimes after a bad qualifying, it really kind of motivates you even more to really push in hard in the race, and just gets you more psyched up for the race, really.
Well, I'm excited to see how Group 4 are going to do. But firstly, a quick moment to go through the socials. It's wonderful to see where you're all tuning in from. We've got America, Saudi Arabia, obviously we're going in there in a couple of weeks, Israel, Kenya, Australia, Denmark. So yeah, very worldwide. But now let's go and take a look at Group 4.
So the final 6 drivers about to head out onto the circuit. No super pole in Formulary Accelerate. It's just the 4 groups of qualifying. And now they're out on track. Pave, a really frustrating time for Pave. 20th and 17th in qualifying in the first 2 races. This is a driver who won a race in the Race at Home Challenge earlier this year. And the same is true, actually, of Lucas Müller in the Mahindra. He qualified 9th for New York City, but then was 18th in Hong Kong. And when you qualify that far back, it's so difficult to make up any progress. You can see attack mode there on the edge of the circuit, which they will be using in the race. But here then, is Michi Hoyer, the 28-year-old from Willerstadt in Germany, just near the French border, near Strasbourg. And very excited to see what Hoyer can do, because as we mentioned earlier on today, he was the 6th quickest in the open qualifiers. There's Tamer Benchik down in the bottom left. Oh, it looks like she's on a nice little G920 or something there, so it's not quite the equipment that we've seen some of the drivers out there on. Here comes Pev across the line then to start a lap in the Dragon Penske Autosport machine. His teammate Freddie Rasmussen up in 2nd place. Look at him working the back end all the way around the long turn 1. We'll get his first sector split in a moment. We're looking for something in the mid-26s. That'll put you in good stead for the rest of the lap. There's Lucas Müller in the other Mahindra. It's a 26.8 for Pev in Sector 1. 26.6 for Müller in Sector 1. So that's not too bad from the young German. 26.8 for Lawrence Herzing. So he's a little off the pace as Pev swings it now towards the hairpin right-hander at turn 9. Michi Hoyer's done a 26.7 in Sector 1 and Benchik's a 26.9. So it is Lucas Müller in the Mahindra who's the quickest so far. As I say that, it's a very good middle sector for Pev, Müller and Herzing. So although their first sectors haven't set the world alike, the middle sectors are all looking pretty strong. Here comes Pev across the line now then, and the Bulgarian goes up into 13th position, ahead of Mark Gassner, Olli Pakala and Golombek. Müller only goes 18th, so he had a poor time in the final sector. In fact, he lost 2 tenths in the final sector. Herzing goes up into 15th position. Here's Michi Hoyer. Kuba Brzezinski up into 11th place. Michi Hoyer goes 21st, ahead of Honzik and Zhang. And then Tamer Benchik across the line in 24th spot. So it is Kevin Ciggy that secures pole position for this 3rd round of Formulary Accelerate. Freddie Rasmussen in 2nd spot, as he was in Hong Kong, so that's 2 second places in a row. Good run in the end from Kuba Brzezinski to get up into 11th place, the highest qualifier of the Group 4 drivers. And 3rd on the grid will be Bono Huis. That's his best qualifying performance of the season. 6th in New York was his best until now. So this is how the grid will line up ahead of round 3 of Formulary Accelerate. Kevin Ciggy on pole position, the Race at Home Challenge winner, the man 2nd in the championship. If it finished like this, he would be ahead of Hanya Yovski in the standings, but still a 25-minute lap race to come. Jarno Otmir in 13th position, Olli Pakala in 17th position, and Honzik, Zhang and Benchik completing the top 24. But look at that, 4 tenths of a second from 1st down to Lucas Müller in 20th place. Absolutely hugely competitive there. So, pole position for Kevin Ciggy. It's been coming, 2 4th places in a row. Now he's on pole, and even better than that, he gets to talk to Darren.
Yeah, you get to talk to me, Kevin. Congratulations, pole position. I mean, you look very cool and chilled out right now, but you can, come on, give me some excitement. How does it feel that you're on the pole, not Yovski this week?
Yeah, it feels amazing because I've been trying to get pole ever since round 1. Obviously, after that conundrum in race 1, I was really mad about it. So I was just trying to push as hard as I could. Couldn't really get it together in Hong Kong, but this time I was shining really fine. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm just hoping for a good race now.
Yeah, I mean, you've done this circuit at the Race at Home Challenge, so you're feeling quite confident about doing it again?
I would say so, yeah, because I think this track really suits me. I really like the track. Not so much the rubber, especially the light one. It wasn't really so fun to kind of drive on, but I'm looking forward to the race. I'm looking forward to the challenge of a very challenging race up ahead with fuel, with energy and everything else. So yeah, fingers crossed I do the best job I can and keep Fredrik behind me.
Now, just before you go, I need to know, what is the secret to actually getting pole position and beating Yovski this week? I need to know. I'm sure the other drivers want to know as well.
The secret. There's not really much of a secret, I would say. Maybe like trying to calm down before qualifying. That's the most crucial part. And just nailing every corner. Like the amount of people that are super talented here, the top 10, it's just really insane this year round. And getting pole is even harder than last season. So it's just about getting your nerves down and nailing the lap. It's not easy, obviously. It's super hard. As you can see, it's super close between me and Freddy now. So there's really no secrets, just calming down, doing your laps, doing the corners correctly, and yeah, that's how you get it, basically.
Awesome. Well, wishing you all the best. Get some yoga in if you want to be like Kevin and get on the pole. But yeah, whilst the sim racers get their heart rate steady in time for the race, Jack is over there with a very special guest.
We're now joined by Season 3 champion, Lucas Degrassi, all the way from Brazil. Lucas, looks like, well, firstly, lovely weather there. We're very jealous of that. And a lovely little array of trophies behind you.
Hi, Jack. How are you doing? Yes, I'm in Brazil. I'm here because in the next few days, my second child should be born. It's really like on the edge of being born now. So Bianca is huge. So I'm here to follow it up. And yeah, I just moved houses, so I decided to do a little bit of a change on the background. So I created this little story of my career, a little bit of mix between F1 and Macau and Formula 3 and Formula 2 and Formula E races. I have my helmets over there. I can show you guys later, but yeah, pretty cool.
Now, your first child got blessed by the Pope, right? So that's a lot to live up to for a second child, isn't it?
Yes, that's actually was amazing. It was something that I think only Formula E could have provided. We were at the Rome E-Prix and Bianca was there and she was like 7 months pregnant, and the Pope blessed Leo, and it was amazing. I have a picture of that moment beside my bed, and it's something that I don't think it will happen to my second one. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So from your new baby to Audi's new baby, what can you tell us about the e-tron GT? Because that's something that will probably be a bit quieter than your new baby.
Yes, much quieter. Although there is the e-tron GT has a special made sound, which really is amazing. I drove the RS e-tron GT, so the RS model is like a 650 horsepower beast, 4-wheel drive, super agile, low center of gravity, 4-wheel steering. So the 4-wheel of the car steer the car, so the car is super agile, extremely fast, torque vectoring. It's a beast. It's the fastest Audi ever made. It's the fully electric, and has a lot of things that we learned from Formula E that later it was implemented on the development of the RS e-tron GT. So a lot of transfer of technology.
Yeah,
it's quite cool actually.
Yeah, it really is a beast. We've seen you driving it, and we've seen it driving around, and it's really quite remarkable. How do you look ahead coming into this Formula E season? Because it's Audi's last year in the championship. You've been here since day one. You won the first ever race. Are you looking at it as your last year in the championship, or are you just focusing on this season and trying to get back towards the front?
If I don't think I will ever be able to win a race, I will not even start the championship. So for me, this is the best Audi powertrain and vehicle that Audi has ever produced in Formula E. Unfortunately, the decision to go out of the Formula E championship, or fortunately, the decision to go out was made after the powertrain was developed. So the powertrain had all the resources. We did a good upgrade from season 6, and I'm very confident that we can have good performances this year. But of course, we'll only know that after the first race, how the competitors are going, what's everybody up to. But I think it will be extremely tight championship. So yes, we will be on the fight there. And for me personally, I still have to decide what Audi is going to do in the future. I've been with Audi since before Formula E. Actually, I've been with in Le Mans with the hybrid cars. I've done 4 Le Mans with Audi, 3 podiums, and then we switched to Formula E. So Audi for me is almost like a family. So I need still to decide if I change teams in Formula E, how motivated I am, what are the opportunities if I go back to Le Mans, because Audi is joining Le Mans. Still very early in the year for me to make any decision, but I have a few offers on the table already from some teams. And at the moment, the main reason for me in a decision like this would be the motivation to win championships and to win races.
Yeah, okay. Well, we look forward to seeing you in Formulary this season. I'm sure, like me, you cannot wait to get to Diriyah and start racing again.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us, Lucas.
No, thanks, Jack. It's been a pleasure. Yes, we cannot wait to go racing again. I think the races in Saudi in the dark at night, it's going to be really awesome for Formula E. Really looking forward. And yeah, to start this new championship, to start finally season 7, get a calendar going, go back to racing, to normal schedule, like arriving there, you have one day to sort everything out. Very different from Berlin, and we haven't had that since Marrakesh last year. Actually 1 year of the pandemic, or of the start of the pandemic. And yeah, has changed the face of motorsport, the fans, the interaction, even the interviews. So looking forward to go racing again. Thank you very much for hosting me, and looking forward to see you there.
Well, I feel like Lucas nailed it there. He's really looking forward to go racing. I mean, surely you must be feeling the same, right?
I can't wait. And like, my season doesn't start till the end of June, so I've got basically another 6 months of waiting to do. But you know, it's all happened for a good reason, to keep everyone safe. So yeah, but when the first race turns up, I'm going to be super excited.
I can imagine. And let's actually get a bit deeper into your own racing journey, because I know that your dad and Michael Schumacher are huge role models of yours. So I'm curious to know, is being a racing driver something that you always thought you were going to do?
It's always something that I wanted to do. So my dad has raced everything under the sun, and I kind of followed him on his journey, you know, from being a little baby all the way up to now. So it was only a matter of time until I got sticking myself. And after a couple of years of pestering, he eventually got me a go-kart, and here we are 19 years later. So I think it wasn't until I got in an actual car that I thought this is actually something I want to do. Karting was a little bit kind of more of a hobby.
Right.
But yeah, my first time in a car around Donington, I was like, this is for me.
This is it.
Yeah.
And how does it feel now knowing that you're actually a role model for tons of other young girls out there?
To be honest, it's probably only something that recently has kind of hit home. When you're in a situation where you're driving and you're kind of on a bit of a path with your career, you kind of get tunnel vision. And it's probably only since my involvement with W Series and kind of highlighting actually that I am a bit of a role model that I've kind of you know, realised that and tried to do more to inspire young girls.
Yeah. And how does it feel being part of W Series? What was your reaction when you found out?
Well, my initial reaction on the W Series as a whole was initially was quite negative. Okay. But having watched the full first season go ahead, and you know the infrastructure around it, and you know all the money that's been spent on it to make it really a fantastic success, and thankfully they let me in. They gave me another go for year 2, and yeah, just can't wait to get stuck in.
And how cool are the circuits for W Series? What are you most excited to race on?
Really boring answer, but the ones that I know. So
okay.
there's 8
Comfort
races,
zone.
yeah, and I only know 2 of them. But yeah, super excited to race on COTA in America. And I think it would be super cool to race around Spa, you know, just with the F1 setup, and obviously Silverstone, home track.
Yeah, love to see it. Well, I'm looking forward to watching you on the W Series. Now we're going to jump onto some AMA questions, some aliens Ask Me Anything. So the first question is coming from Francois, who asks, what's your first motorsports-related memory?
Probably nothing to do with motorsport. So it was, again, watching my dad race, or a race weekend with my dad. And I think it was Liddon Hill. And I was wearing roller skates.
Okay.
And because I had no fear, and I was a bit of an adrenaline junkie, even from a young age. And I basically went from the top of the hill down to the bottom, fell, grazed everything, and was laid in a pile on the floor going, Dad! And he just came, picked me up, put me on my skates, and away I went again.
Are there any pictures of this? I need to see them.
Probably somewhere, yeah, hidden away in a safe that will never see the light of day.
Maybe a new Twitter profile picture.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Resurface them.
Yeah.
Ferda asks, hamburger or pizza?
Hamburger, yeah. Pizza's good, but it's too filling, weirdly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too much bread.
Fair enough, fair enough. And on to the final question. We're going to go with... We're going to go with Steve Martinez, and he asks, what circuit... Oh, no, I've actually asked that question, covered it already. But Brendan's going to ask, if there's one track that you've never raced on, what track would it be? And it can be anywhere in the world.
Bathurst in Australia. Always my answer straight away. I almost got the chance to do it a couple of years ago, but yeah, have yet to tick that off my bucket list.
Funnily enough, Jack predicted that would be your answer.
Well, there you go.
There you go. And now we're actually going to go over to Jack. But thank you so much for sending in your Allianz AMA questions. Keep them coming.
I think you'll also find I guessed Circuit of the Americas as well, for the current season. What can I say? I know someone. Here's a look at some of our social media interaction then. We've got, look at this, a Graham Carroll chibi. Thank you very much for Sarah Sahadim for sending those in. Something new for this season as well is our lovely QR code. You can scan that and see where it takes you. And here's Lucas Degrassi with his new Audi that he was talking about just a couple of moments ago. So keep it coming in. Hashtag FE Accelerate. Oh, look, and there's Sebastian Buemi. Oh, and Oliver Rowland. He recorded that last week. It's not good enough. He should be watching live. It's also just turning the February the 12th in some places in the world, which means it's Chinese New Year, isn't it, Oliver?
Yes, it is, Jack. And from me and all of the Neo 333 team, I'd like to wish all our Chinese fans a Happy New Year and hoping everyone has a successful Year of the Ox.
Yeah, same from everyone, all of us here as well. So thank you, Ollie. Just so you know, this QR code takes you to live timing, which will be very useful now because we're about to get going in the race. And it's going to be a really good one because Kevin Ciggy is going to be starting on pole position. Erhan Yayovsky down towards the lower reaches of the top 10. Now I'm safely behind my plastic. Oliver can come and join me in a moment, but we're about to get going with race 3 of the Formulary Accelerate series. And like I say, this is one that could throw the championship wide open because if it finishes like this, Kevin Ciggy will take the lead of the championship.
Here's a look at how the grid is going to line up. Tamer Benchik and Jiayu Zhang are at the back of the grid in 24th and 23rd positions. Yaroslav Honzik in 22nd place. Michi Hoyer in 21st in his first competition in the series. Lucas Muller is 20th. Artur Leyuk in 19th spot. Then we've got Marius Gollenbeck in 18th on the grid with Olli Pakala in 17th position. Lawrence Herzing 16th just behind the Nissan Edams of Mark Gassner. Into the top 14, pave, the Bulgarian, after he puts in his best qualifying performance of the season so far. Jarno Opmeer down in 13th place. Jan van der Heide in 12th position for the Nissan squad. And Nikodem Wisniewski just outside the top 10 in 11th spot behind his Le Mans winning teammate, Kuba Brzezinski. Erhan Yayovsky, championship leader, 9th on the grid. Manuel Biancalillo, who was second in the opening race, managed only 8th on the grid here. Graham Carroll is in 7th position on the grid. Risto Capit in 6th spot in the Neo 333 after a good performance. Martin Stefanko 5th for the second race in a row. Peter Berliak in the BMW is 4th on the grid. Bono Huis with his best qualifying of the FE Accelerate season starts 3rd. Freddie Rasmussen started 2nd last week. He's 2nd this week, but this time he's behind a different driver, Kevin Ciggy in the BMW I Andretti team. 25 minutes around the Berlin Tempelhof Airport, about to get underway. Hashtag FE Accelerate or get stuck into the YouTube comments as well. It's going to be a really, really fascinating event. Ciggy on pole position. We're on board with the BMW driver there now. There he is, down in the bottom left, getting ready to go as we wait for the lights. Freddie Rasmussen is alongside him in the Dragon, the white and red machine on the left-hand side, who was so close to winning last time out. The nerves at the start, Oliver Turvey, this is going to be a big race for the championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got a really exciting grid lineup, but also the championship leader is back in P10, so yeah, or P11. No, P9. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because he's led it the last 2 races from pole position. Let's see if he can work his way through.
Round 3 of Formulary Accelerate begins now. Down towards turn 1. Ciggy got a reasonable getaway by the looks of things. Rasmussen slots into 2nd place, thinks about going to the outside. Very early on the brakes from Bono Huis in the Mercedes. There's going to be a bit of contact there. 3 wide. The 2 Jaguars have Graham Carroll in the Envision Virgin car trying to get up the inside of him. There's a spinner further back. Apologies, it was one of the Neos, not the Jaguars. But it's Ciggy who leads. Rasmussen 2nd, Huis in 3rd, Berliak still 4th. 5th place is Risto Capit, I think, just about. It's Stefanko who's dropped down the order. Bold start from Erhan Yayovski. He's gone from 9th up to 7th spot on the opening couple of corners, and it's such an interesting first few corners at Berlin. There's so many lines to take.
Yeah, it's really, really tight. You know, it's a long first corner and goes into the narrow turn 2, so always a tough start to the race. But yeah, some bold moves there.
24 minutes left on the clock. On board with Peter Berliak in the BMW, who's running in 4th position. That's Bono Huis in front of him. Everybody fanning out further back. There's the Audi of Bianca Lila on the attack with a robust move, going past Nikodem Wisniewski to take 9th position. Jan van der Heide's there in 11th place. So Ciggy, Rasmussen and Huis still the top 3. Berliak still the top 4, as they were on the grid, as they come down towards turn 1. Marius Golombek's under investigation for some of that chaos at turn 1. In fact, it was him and Artur Leuk, who now you can see are down in 23rd and 24th places, who spun around, and that's what happened. Golombek into the back of Leuk, and then he got spun around again, joined in by the other Porsche driver of Jaroslav Honzik, and that was the chaos at the first corner. But Ciggy leads, Rasmussen second, but like in Formula E in real life, you get the early stages of the race. You think you know what's going on, but it all changes later on. Last week's race, for example, Yayovski looked like he had it under control until Rasmussen came at him.
Yeah, definitely. The front guys are looking to make a break. It looks like Kevin Ciggy's made a bit of a gap already to Rasmussen, nearly a second now. But obviously the energy management and the attack mode can always make some big changes in Formula E races.
Yeah, new for this iteration of Studio 397's Formula E car is the energy usage and the attack mode. They are saving energy whilst they are coming off the throttle and regenerating it while they're on the brakes. It's two minutes of attack mode, and they can start to use them from now onwards. So we'll see how they decide to use them over the next 22.5 minutes. Ciggy sets the fastest lap of the race, which again would give him an extra point. There's Graham Carroll in the bottom left. He's always got that sort of yellow tint to his glasses, actually, hasn't he? Sort of Edgar Davids style. But I don't know if that's who he's modelling himself on. Hasn't quite got the hair for it, but Carroll running well in 5th position at the moment. One of the drivers that did the Visa Vegas E-race a few years ago, which you came out and did.
I did, yes. It was my first experience of sim racing, and yeah, real baptism of fire.
So there's Kuba Brzezinski in the Jaguar. There's Kevin Ciggy, race leader. 0.8 of a second ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Bono Huis getting dropped a little in 3rd place. Marius Golombek decides to activate his first attack mode, but he's down in 23rd position, so I guess it's a case of might as well, really, for Golombek. He's got a long race to go if he wants to get back up the order. There's Freddie Rasmussen in his trademark dark room, and he's getting onto the brakes, coming down into the first corner.
It looks like he's closed the gap a little bit. He's now only 0.6 behind Ciggy, so maybe Ciggy's trying to save a bit more energy.
Yeah, he set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap, and as a result, as you say, the gap down to 0.6 of a second. It's then 2 seconds back to Bono Huis, so we'll see whether the Dutchman can manage to keep up with them. The 5 times Formula Sim racing champion back in the start of the 2010s. There is Golombek in attack mode up behind Tameja Benchik at the moment, and Ciggy activates his attack mode now, actually. So Kevin Ciggy into attack mode. That's a fairly early usage, and this is the first attack mode we've seen this season where you lose time if you activate attack mode. So as a result, Ciggy has lost the lead of the race to Freddie Rasmussen. Now that's an interesting choice to give up track position.
Yeah, he's lost 1 position. Taking the attack mode, you have to take the really wide line at the end of the back straight. Here he is going into attack mode. Yeah, he got it perfectly. Only losing 1 place, I think. It's not bad on this track because there's lots of overtaking opportunities, and here he is down the inside into turn 1.
So Ciggy in attack mode up the inside of Freddie Rasmussen. Rasmussen tries to hang it on, but he can't quite get the job done. Maybe he decided that he would be able to get back out in front of Bono Huis, and so that was the reason he decided to take it so early. We'll see whether Rasmussen responds then. So Ciggy out in front, but you can presumably lose a lot of time trying to get back past a car that you've already passed.
Yeah, this track there's lots of overtaking opportunities. There's a number of long straights, so it's one of probably the easier tracks to overtake in Formulary. So I guess that's why he took the opportunity to take the attack mode early on.
19.5 minutes to go. Now, Erhan Yuyovski made a great start. He was in 9th place, gained a couple of places up into 7th. He's now stuck behind the Neo 333 of Risto Capit. We're on board with Yuyovski here, coming down into the hairpin right-hander of turn 9. And Yuyovski looks very focused, doesn't he? Top of the championship, but if it finished like this, he would not be. Marius Gollenbeck has been given a drive-through penalty for that incident down at the first corner, so if his race wasn't kind of run already, it certainly is now. Ciggy sets the fastest lap of the race as we're on board with Yuyovski. Now this is where he's got to try and manage that attack versus conserve situation.
Yeah, it's always the challenge in Formulary races, you know, using your energy efficiently to try and overtake, but not, you know, obviously not burning up too much, because, you know, he's got to, you know, focus on getting ahead of as many cars as possible.
Someone very kind on the YouTube chat said I was their favourite commentator, but now everyone else is saying, no, these other commentators are better. So there we go. Thanks for that. Really enjoying reading this. Big shout out to Alex Jakes and Ben Edwards. There goes Risto Capit through the attack mode activation zone, loses a place to Martin Stefanko, and Freddie Rasmussen has activated attack mode now as well. 2.8 seconds back from Ciggy once he'd activated it. We'll see whether he can close back in. He just about managed to get in front of Bono Huis on his return. Peter Berliak is right up behind Huis, and then Carroll is right up behind Berliak. So this is the order of 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Rasmussen, Huis, Berliak, Carroll, all right together, but Ciggy and Rasmussen have both used one of their attack modes.
Yeah, I think Ciggy's used his attack mode to make a bit of a gap. Now he's got nearly a 2.5 second gap. So now he can just drive cleanly and focus on the energy management.
So we're on board with Peter Berliak in the other BMW, with Ciggy and Rasmussen out front at the moment. Now in the team's championship, this is looking quite good for BMW, because they're currently 2nd in the standings behind Venturi, but Venturi, as it stands, are only scoring points with Yuyovski in 6th position, because Lawrence Herzing's down in 18th place. 2nd attack mode now used for Kevin Ciggy then. So Ciggy uses another attack mode, gets out in front of Rasmussen, and that's worked out fairly nicely for Ciggy, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely. He's using both his attack modes early, though. He's going to have no defence at the end. So hopefully, I guess he's trying to make a gap and trying to break away from the pack.
Yeah, indeed. 17 minutes left on the clock. As you say, it's going to be... We saw how strong Freddie Rasmussen was on usable energy last time out. Here's Risto Capit watching the Carroll Yuyovski fight in front. So Yuyovski has caught the back of Graham Carroll, mainly because Carroll went through the attack mode this time. And Capit also has used an attack mode, whereas Yuyovski has not used either of them. So that's one attack mode for Risto Capit, one attack mode for Graham Carroll, and none at the moment used for Yuyovski. Olli Pakala is now setting the fastest lap time of anyone, down in 14th spot at the moment, up behind Jan van der Heide. 16 minutes to go, so this is all brewing up nicely towards the end of the race. I can see Rasmussen closing in with an attack mode, and that's going to be how he's going to try it. Well, no, as I say that, he goes through attack mode now and activates it. This is it then. This is his 2nd shot at attack mode to try and get ahead of Ciggy.
Yeah, he's obviously wanting to close the gap and also break away from the guys behind. I think looks like their strategy is to take the attack modes as early as possible for most of them.
Huis has taken attack mode, so he's dropped behind Peter Berliak. So Berliak is up into 3rd spot at the moment. Huis 4th, Carroll 5th. Yuyovski still there in 6th position then, so he's managed to get ahead of Risto Capit. He managed to stay in front of him when Capit did his attack mode, because I don't think Yuyovski has used one yet. Here's Bono Huis down towards turn 1. Berliak fights it, but Huis finds the inside, coming into turn 1. Back end nearly goes, but he gets it stopped just in time, and Huis back up into 3rd. So the top 3 as they started at the moment. But Ciggy's just ended his attack mode. Rasmussen is 2.3 seconds behind. How quickly can he close up to Ciggy in the next couple of minutes?
Yeah, I think he's not going to close the full gap, but I guess it's going to come down to the amount of energy at the end of the race. So, you know, this track in Berlin is quite tough on energy compared to maybe some of the, like Hong Kong and last week. So I think, you know, the energy is going to be more critical at the end of the race.
2nd attack mode used for Risto Capit. in the Neo 333. Pave uses his second attack mode as well, but this is Freddie Rasmussen. Chips the gap down to 2.2 seconds to Kevin Ciggy out in front, but he's only got half a minute left in it. Okay, that'll be down the long start-finish straight, where I guess the extra power is most important. And once the attack modes are done, we'll take a look at the usable energy that these drivers have remaining, because that'll give us a clue as well, as we're on board with Huis in third. Peter Berliak is closing up to Graham Carroll as well in the fight over fourth position. Berliak right up behind Carroll, he's in attack mode too, and that would take us back to the initial top four that we had. Rasmussen 1.5 seconds back from Ciggy out in front. Yayovsky still there in sixth place, I think, still yet to use an attack mode, so maybe he's just saving really hard in this race and going to go aggressive towards the end.
Yeah, he might be saving both his attack modes to use at the end. I think if all the others look like they've used two up, so he's going to have a good chance to attack.
Now there's usable energy remaining as Berliak and Carroll come together on the exit of the left-hander of turn 7. But who has the most energy remaining? Yayovsky's on 56, Stefanko 57. So really it's Rasmussen, Huis and Carroll, you would say, at the front, who are a little bit worse off than those around. Stefanko's looking in a strong position there in 7th place, but overall it's fairly even. That's Peter Berliak down in the bottom left.
Ciggy has 1% more than Rasmussen though, so looks like he's actually got more energy and a gap, so he's looking good at this stage of the race.
Berliak and Carroll again going at it. Berliak in the BMW in attack mode, Carroll not, and holding on to that 4th position still as Peter Berliak runs out of attack mode. I think that was his last attack mode as well, Peter Berliak. We'll wait and see if he can do anything about Graham Carroll in regular energy mode, regular power mode, I should say. Ciggy still has a bit more usable energy than Rasmussen in 2nd, who has a bit more than Huis in 3rd, who has a bit more than Carroll in 4th at the moment. So 12.5 minutes to go, and we are seeing a bit of spread energy-wise. There's a second attack mode activated for Martin Stefanko as we go on board with Bono Huis, running in 3rd position at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like both Bono Huis and Graham Carroll are probably the lowest on the energy, so it looks like they're going to be under threat from the guys behind in the later stages of this race.
12 minutes to go. Stefanko in attack mode now to try and get ahead of Risto Kapit in 7th place. Erhan Yayovsky still there in 6th position, so the 6th place for Yayovsky would give him 8 points, so the swing would be 17 points, so he'd still manage to hold the lead of the championship, Erhan Yayovsky, but only just about. Here's side-by-side between Stefanko and Kapit. Stefanko in the Jaguar getting passed by the 333 of Kapit up the inside into turn 1, and he's up into 7th spot. Nice clean move that, coming down into the first corner.
Yeah, he's been consistent in the first 2 races with a P8 and a P6, so if he can finish again in the points, I think, yeah, three strong races from Risto Kapit.
Side by side again, actually, between Stefanko and Kapit. Yayovsky uses his attack mode then, and I didn't quite glimpse whether it was 1 or 2, but I'm pretty sure it's 1 for Erhan Yayovsky. Hits the wall pretty heavily on the exit of the left-hander there of 7, so that might give him a little bit of damage. It is full damage setting on these races.
Yeah, if you can clip the wall at the wrong angle, you can damage the car, and that definitely affects the performance on this rFactor platform.
11 minutes left on the clock. Here's Bianca Lila fighting hard with one of the DS to cheaters of Nikodem Wisniewski. Side by side up towards the final corner. Still side by side. And is Wisniewski going to feed him into the wall? Yes, he is, Roland Massa style. And Wisniewski holds the place. It's under investigation. And much in that?
Not really, just a bit of rubbing. It's normal in Formulary.
Yeah, exactly. The amount of drivers the first Formulary race they do, and they come out at the end like, what was that? What was that? There's Kevin Ciggy, pole sitter. Look how much little energy Huis and Carroll have compared to the others, especially Graham Carroll. Now, I just wonder if they're banking on it being a lap shorter than the race is, or something like that, because we've got 10 minutes to go.
Definitely going to be under threat, aren't they, from the guys behind?
Do you, I guess in real Formulary, it's a constant working out of how much energy you need, especially with safety cars, full course yellows, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of strategy in the background, you know, the chances of safety cars or full course yellows. But ultimately, yeah, you want to be as quick as possible for as little energy as possible. So everyone's trying to achieve that, and you know, you have to work with the engineers and the team to give you the updates on the energy of the other guys.
Now Olli Pakala as he comes across the line in 16th position, has just been overtaken by pave, who's now up into 15th place. Yuyovski's attack mode comes to a conclusion in 6th spot. Here's a replay of the battle between them up the inside into 9, and Pakala had no answer to that and lost out the spot, and is now still running in 16th position behind Pev in 15th spot. Ciggy and Rasmussen, 1.5 seconds between them still up at the front. Bono Huis in 3rd place. That's how he wants his name to be said. For those of you coming at me on the YouTube chat again, I know you can say Bono House, but he wants to say Bono Huis, so I will say it side by side going in there. That was the Mercedes of Otmir and Jan van der Heide, both wheel to wheel coming into turn 13. There you see Olli Pakala down in the bottom left, another driver who did the Visa Vegas E-race a few years ago. He also is part of the McLaren F1 esports team, did the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year on iRacing, and his teammates were Fernando Alonso and Rubens Barrichello, so he very much enjoyed that one. 8 minutes left on the clock. Here's Otmir up in front of van der Heide, who thinks about sending it down into 1. Not quite close enough. Jarno Otmir, the reigning F1 esports champion. His teammate Bono Huis up in 3rd spot as it stands. And again, that gap is, well, just as I say that, it comes down to 1.2 seconds. So when are we going to get the last charge from Rasmussen up to the back of Ciggy? Arthur Lejuk is out of the race at the moment. Otmir under a pressure from Jan van der Heide down into the... No, apologies, the other way around. It's Gassner going past van der Heide. Someone going into attack mode there. That is Kuba Brzezinski in the Jaguar. But it's still Ciggy out in front with 7 minutes to go. This was about the stage last week that we were like, oh, this is looking easy for the leader.
Yeah, he looks like he's got it under control at this moment, but you never know in Formulary races, and still only 1.5 seconds is a small gap still.
7 minutes on the clock. On board here with Kuba Brzezinski in the Jaguar, running in 12th position, looking to the outside of Mark Gassner coming down into turn 1. Gassner covering the inside, the 2014 GT Academy Germany winner. Did a few real races in GTs, in things like the Blancpain Endurance Series. And then he was 3rd at Le Mans in LMP2 in 2020, the virtual Le Mans. 6.5 minutes left on the clock. There is Graham Carroll then, up behind Bono Huis, about half a second between them, but with quite a bit less energy, Carroll, than the rest of those around him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as we get towards the end of the race and get to the stage where you finally know how much energy you need to get to the end. Who can forget the 2 Nissan cars running out of energy in Mexico City a few years ago? Was that your...
Not that year, no.
Okay.
No.
The breaking down from the lead one.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I wanted to say it.
No, but this track also, the last lap is critical for energy, because it's such a tough lap on energy. You know, if you have a little bit less, you can really, you know, lose so much lap time on the final lap. So this race is never over until the final lap.
Saw Otmir and Pakala having a little bit of rubbing coming onto the exit of turn 9. This is what happened on board with Pakala, and Otmir fed him into the barriers. That's a little rude.
That was a bit aggressive, yeah.
The one we saw earlier on. Here's Carroll then, right up behind Bono Huis, and he goes for his 2nd attack mode then, Graham Carroll. So he has decided to leave it a bit later than the others. Oh, is he going to lose out here to Peter Berliak? They're going to be side by side. He just has enough power to get ahead, and Berliak's got all out of shape. That could be an opportunity for Erhan Yuyovski. We haven't mentioned him in a while. He's in 6th place. That's going to close the gap to 5th, Peter Berliak. Just a little bit with 5 minutes to go. Not enough to make a move just yet, but I still think Yuyovski's got 1 attack mode remaining, and I believe...
Yeah, I think he has.
Yeah, and I think Berliak, He's definitely used one. Has he used two? That's going to be the question. Carroll's in his second attack mode now to try and attack Huis. 4.5 minutes to go. Hanyuyovsky, the supreme North Macedonian in the first two races, pole and the win in New York City and Hong Kong, but no pole and very unlikely to be a win in this third race. And then there's the 4-week gap while we go to Diriyah in Saudi Arabia for the first real race of the FIA Formulary World Championship, and Huis goes into his second attack mode now, and so Carroll gets the position. Jarno Opmeer in 14th place has been given a 5-second penalty for that collision with Olli Pakala that we just saw at the hairpin. So the battle for third is very much on, because Carroll now has track position.
Yeah, but I think he probably has the least amount of energy, so definitely I think the battle for third's going to be really tight at the end of the race.
Here's Yuyovsky coming into the final corner, and then out over the line again and down towards turn 1.
There's the energy. So actually Petr Berliak seems to have the most energy of the guys fighting for P3.
Yeah, so he may well come into this a little bit later on. Yuyovsky too maybe has an attack mode remaining and a bit more energy than Carroll and Huis.
It looks like Kevin Ciggy's got it under control at the front. He's actually got the most energy of anyone, and a gap, so it looks like he's looking good for the win.
Yeah, 3 minutes to go, and you'd have thought the charge from Freddie Rasmussen would have come by now. Carroll, I'm sure Carroll's going to be a lap short here well, unless he's right and everyone else is wrong, but that's getting up 3 or 4% a lap is about what you'd expect.
Yeah, usually, yeah, exactly. This is about a lap out, isn't it? So.
Here's Jan van der Heide. Oh, this is going to get a bit tight, isn't it? He's up behind his teammate Mark Gassner. Someone going through attack mode there was Kuba Brzezinski. They're up behind Manuel Biancalila and Nikodem Wisniewski in 9th and 10th position. Huis is about to run out of his second attack mode. Yuyovsky is in his second attack mode now. In front of us, and up the inside of us comes a Jaguar. Up in front is Wisniewski going side by side with Mark Gassner coming into the final corner, and here's the move up the inside. Bono Huis sends it coming into turn 1 and gets ahead of Graham Carroll. So Huis gets up into third place using his attack mode, and he's back into the third spot in which he started. He and Carroll are both looking very, very short. We'll have to wait and see how many more laps we've got.
It looks like they've both been fighting each other and using up their energy, so hopefully they're not going to end up with not enough at the end of the race, because you, as I say, you can lose a lot of positions in the last lap.
Yeah, and it's so difficult to save that match, isn't it? If you have, what, a 4% deficit with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, you can't get into someone's race. You know, they look like they're battling each other and using up so much energy that they're just going to hurt each other, basically.
And it's just like the real Formula E, speaking to these drivers. They are the top sim racers in the world, but they say it's actually the most difficult thing I've ever done, racing this with the energy and not pushing too hard, but also pushing as hard as you can.
Yeah, exactly, because in most formulas, you don't have to worry about, you're just driving as fast as you can, but in this, there's so much in the energy management that, and makes you quick in the race. It's really important to be on top of that.
So we're now on the penultimate lap of the race, side by side for Carroll and Huis. Without attack mode, they're banging wheels as they come through turn 1. Huis tries to just show him out wide. Carroll keeps his nose in. Huis gives him room. Nice clean racing, and Carroll might get this done. They're now onto the brakes into the left-hander, and does Huis give him room again? Yes, he does. This is very clean stuff. A little bit of a touch there. You saw Carroll having to fight the wheel as he nearly lost it too. Coming down into the left-hander now at turn 6. And there's the dummy. Carroll up the inside. Huis is down to 4%. Carroll's down to 3. I don't think they're getting to the end of this race. No. They're surely not getting another lap.
I don't see how they're going to do the last lap.
Petr Berliak is coming up to join them. Yuyovsky is not too far behind as well in the Venturi. Here they come. Carroll covers the inside line, Huis to the outside, but this isn't the last lap of the race. They're going to come across the line. They'll have done it absolutely perfectly for a 21-lap race, but it's going to be a 22-lap race.
Maybe the time was tight because it's only 7 seconds now, and maybe they were banking on it being a lap short of the race.
It must be that. Ciggy crosses the line to start his final lap. 0 minutes remaining, and Carroll has hit 0%. Ruiz has hit 0%. They've both stopped. They think that was the end of the race. They thought that was all they had to do. And now they've got to try and creep around somehow on the final lap, but they're not going to make it. So Peter Berliak gets up into 3rd place, up into 4th place. From 9th on the grid goes Erhan Yayovski. What a recovery drive from the championship leader. Carroll slowing down. He's going to try and roll to the finish, but that's not really going to achieve anything. Kevin Ciggy out in front. But, wow, it's so difficult because, of course, these guys haven't got a whole team behind them with all the computers and stuff.
Exactly. I think the time was tight, and they were obviously banking on the leader crossing the line earlier and the race being 1 lap shorter. But as you say, they haven't got the whole team of engineers working this out in the background. So
yeah, they were about 7 seconds away from making it, from it being a lap shorter than they thought it was going to be. Here comes Kevin Ciggy, though, through the final corner. The Race at Home Challenge winner from last year is back in the championship fight. Comes across the line, wins in Berlin. 2nd for Freddie Rasmussen, his second place in a row. Peter Berliak finishes in 3rd, and Erhan Yayovski does manage to pick up 4th position then. So the swing is 13 points between the two of them, so it's a 9-point advantage for Erhan Yayovski at the top of the championship. As far as damage limitation goes, starting 9th on the grid, that's a decent effort.
yeah, no, it was a good recovery, wasn't it? He made positions up on the first lap, and then just throughout the whole race, I think he managed his energy well and picked up those positions at the end of the race. So yeah, P4 from P9, I think he'll be happy with that, I guess.
So Kevin Ciggy, the winner of round 3 of Formula E Accelerate. Not a commanding win for him. Great fighting throughout the pack. A 1st and a 3rd for BMW I Andretti. That, I'm convinced, is going to take them to the top of the team standings. If not, it's going to be very, very close with Venturi. Freddie Rasmussen, again, 2nd place, 1.3 seconds back from Ciggy. But Ciggy had so much energy towards the end, didn't he? That was what was so remarkable, is he sort of wasn't using the energy up and still pulling away.
Yeah, no, it was a great drive by Kevin Ciggy. I think, he actually crossed the line with some energy still left. So, he clearly was under control the whole race, really. And, had the good strategy to take the attack modes at the start, make a gap, and then just managed it from there, really.
I think the gap actually will be 8 points at the top of the championship because Kevin Ciggy set the fastest lap of the race. Olli Pakala set the actual fastest lap of the race, but he finished in 11th spot. So Ciggy will get that point. 1.3 seconds ahead of Freddie Rasmussen in 2nd place. Peter Berliak 3rd in the other BMW. Yayovski recovering from 9th up into 4th. Martin Stefanko in 5th. Risto Capit 6th. Manuel Biancalila in 7th place. The DS Techeetah of Nikodem Wisniewski picks up another couple of points in 8th spot. Further down, Bono Ruiz managed to finish in 16th position. Graham Carroll in 20th position. Such frustration for them. Tamea Benchik gets her best result of the season with a 15th place finish, only a couple of seconds behind Jana Wattmeier, who did end up with that 5-second penalty. So there's a look over the city skyline of Berlin, where Kevin Ciggy once again has been victorious after winning the Race at Home Challenge. Darren, he is finally the winner in Formula E Accelerate.
Yes, he is. A huge congratulations. How did that feel, converting the pole to a race win?
Feels amazing, really, because I've been waiting for that for the first 2 rounds, and finally made it happen. I was really calm. I was talking to my engineer a whole lot, so I kept calm in that situation, and it helped me a lot. So I'm really happy for it.
Was there ever a moment that you thought the win would be in a doubt? I know that Rasmussen was quite close behind you at some points.
I wouldn't say in doubt. I was a bit nervous still in the first couple of laps because we weren't using the attack mode at first. But then as soon as I saw Bono was 2 seconds behind me, I just went for it because the previous day I was testing and I was making a lot of mistakes with the attack mode and I wasn't using it properly. So I learned from those mistakes and I made sure that I only lose 1 position in this track with using the attack mode. So it was obviously also crucial to get past Frederick in turn 1, which I did safely, and I'm really proud of that move. So that's basically what got me the win, let's say, because I got a bigger gap than I could have if I didn't overtake him in turn 1. So I'm really happy about that. And then second attack mode obviously meant that I would pull a bigger gap. So after that, it was just controlling the energy, and that was it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Well done again. We have a bit of a delay with our second place contestant, so we are going to go straight to third with another BMW teammate. We have Berliak. Hello, congrats.
Hello, thanks.
How did that feel to get on the podium, especially with Carroll and Huis in third place just behind you, sort of going with a battle, and then obviously they maxed out of energy. So how did that feel?
Yeah, well, the start was a bit messy. I got a few hits from behind. And then I messed up my first attack mode. And then I thought, well, okay, I'm probably not going to battle them because I wasted quite a lot of energy. So I'm just going to save. I hope they battle and waste their energy. And that's what they did at the end. And yeah, I just took the podium.
And a double podium for BMW. How exciting.
Yeah, actually, the manager said last week that we should get a double podium this week. And now it's happened.
You did it.
So that's just great.
Amazing. Well, congratulations once again. I believe now we have Fredrik Rasmussen. No, we do not have Fredrik Rasmussen. So we're going to go over to Jack and Oliver in the commentary booth.
Well, who knows? To be honest, we might have Fredrik Rasmussen, but maybe he just hasn't turned the lights on. We can't tell, can we? Here's a look at the results then. The championship standings, I should say. And it is Erhan Yayovski who is at the top of the championship still, but only 8 points clear of Kevin Ciggy in second place, who's really made some good gains. Freddie Rasmussen in third position. Nikodem Wisniewski, Brzezinski, Pakala and Jan van der Heide actually at the bottom of the standings, having picked up that 1 point earlier on. As far as the team's championship is concerned, BMW do move to the top of the standings. Cool 12 points clear of Rocket Venturi Racing. Dragon with Freddie Rasmussen second place up into third spot, or they already were in third actually. Mercedes drop a place behind Audi Sport App Schaeffler after Manuel Biancalila picks up his 7th place finish. All the teams have scored points, 2 points now for Mahindra. We've managed to find Freddie Rasmussen. Are the lights on, Darren?
I'm afraid the lights are not on, but Freddie, congratulations. Back on the podium again. Are you happy with that race?
Yeah, it was the maximum I could do from P2. It's so hard to overtake. I just want to push and try to get up there, but you have to save the energy, so there's nothing you can do. You have to save it.
But you did a great job with attack mode, I mean, following the lead of the winner.
It was all right with attack mode. I didn't optimize it very well. I lost some time from that.
Well, I thought you did a great job. Well done and congratulations, and thank you so much for speaking. Back over to Jack with some more replays.
Thank you very much, Darren. So Freddie Rasmussen saying how difficult it is to overtake in Formulary, as we've seen so often, and you can't even afford to sort of send a lunge, can you, at various times. Let's take a look back at Kevin Ciggy's race then, the man who started on pole position, and he said, Oliver, that it was crucial he got past here, but also crucial that he got back ahead when he was in attack mode.
Yeah, no, he made a great start, kept the lead into turn 1, and yeah, I think his strategy for the race was perfect. You know, he took the 2 attack modes early on. As he said, that was crucial to make. Here, I think he is taking the first attack mode, and you know, he knew he was only going to lose 1 position to Rasmussen, but then he knew to make the big move into turn 1. A great overtaking move there. And that really, as he said, made his race. You know, it allowed him to create the gap and then just manage the energy and control it to the finish.
A really, really strong victory for Kevin Magnussen. Kevin Ciggy, sorry about that. And he has now got up to second in the championship, just 8 points away from the top. But I guess the big story of the race was Graham Carroll and Bono, who is both running out of energy towards the end of the race. Those of you on the YouTube chat, very amusing, saying, Bono, my energy is gone, which is pretty true in the end for Ruiz. But they were fighting each other so hard. We could see it coming.
Yeah, exactly. The whole race, they seemed to be battling, and they were always a little bit less energy than the others. But maybe they gambled on the race being a lap shorter. It looked like they expected the race to finish that lap, and it didn't, and then they didn't have the energy for the last lap.
Yeah, I guess they can only sort of guess the race will be as long as their pace is, you know, because if you want to be at the front, that's the pace you think you're going to run at.
Exactly, that's the tricky thing in Formulary with the timed race. You know, when the time is very close to zero, when the leader crosses, you can get a lap longer or a lap shorter race. So it's always a tricky calculation, and they clearly were thinking it was a lap short of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thank you very much for getting in touch. All of your social media comments were very greatly appreciated, even the ones criticising me. Loved them. Darren, what else has been going on?
Funnily enough, those ones were my favourite. But no, taking a look, V10 says he actually thought that this was a real-life race because the graphics were that good. So, you know, rFactor 2 doing some bits there. We've also got Luca saying that he's from the same country as Kevin Ciggy. That's great to know. Lots of people were saying that the race was really cool and that people are excited for the next one. Well, let's talk about the next race. So, as you know, we are less than 2 weeks away from actual Formula E racing happening in actual Diriyah in Saudi Arabia. So we thought it'd be great to catch up with an actual Formula E presenter, Nikki Shields.
I'm right here. What?
Oh, sorry. Hello, Nikki.
Oh, we can't hear Nikki at the moment.
Here we go.
That's a shame.
Classic technical issue.
Is it a shame?
Oh.
Don't know. Oliver, what are you looking forward to most about the Diriyah circuit?
It's a fantastic track. You know, it's the first 2 sectors are really fast sweeping corners downhill, but I think you know, this year, especially racing under the lights, I think it's going to be the first ever Formulary race in the night. So that's going to be a really exciting way to start the season.
Is it going to make a difference? Have you raced under sort of floodlights before, or only kind of full dark at Le Mans?
I raced under the lights in Abu Dhabi. To be honest, when you have with the good lights, it looks like daylight. Probably won't be too different for us, but I think it'll look amazing on the TV.
Maybe we need to get Freddie some of those lights.
Maybe we do.
Yeah.
And Happy, I know that you've raced in Diriyah. What is it like as a track?
I really enjoyed it, and it was my first taste of the Jaguar I-Pace as well, so first taste of kind of electric motorsport, if you like. And yeah, as Ollie just said there, the first couple of sectors where you go downhill and under the gantry, first couple of laps, you've got to hold your breath a little bit and get through it, but once you know where you're going, it's fantastic fun.
And taking a look back at the race, what was your overall analysis of it all?
Obviously, Huis and Carroll had a bit of a tough time there towards the end, and I think that's part of the beauty of Formula E is that, you know, you need to regulate everything, and I guess it's quite difficult when you're having a good battle with someone to actually forget that you need to conserve the energy to make it to the end of the race, and yeah, I think they'll probably both be kicking themselves.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to try Nikki again. Fingers crossed. We can hear each other. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yay!
What a victory.
Oh, bad luck for you guys. Sorry.
Well, Nikki, we are just a couple of weeks away from Diriyah. I'm curious to know, what is so special about Diriyah as a track?
Well, we're very excited to be returning for the 3rd time. And I think, first of all, you've got to say it is a really beautiful location. It's a World UNESCO site, so it's a stunning location. And it is one of the tracks that unanimously all the drivers absolutely love to race at. I think it just has all the ingredients that you want in a racetrack. It's tight, there are hairpins, it's twisty, there are undulations. You also, because of course we're practically in the desert, you get a lot of sand being blown onto the track, so it's quite slippery at the beginning of the day. So there's always lots of pretty exciting moments when we go to Saudi Arabia. So I think we'll be in for a great show.
Yeah, okay, great. We're looking forward to seeing you out there. Actually, we'll see you at Heathrow. We're on the same flight. It's going to be great.
Oh, well, there we go. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
We've also got lots of new drivers to look forward to as well.
Yeah, exactly. Really, really looking forward to getting the real racing action underway in Diriyah.
Yeah, well, whilst we're going to Diriyah in real life as Season 7 of Formula E finally gets underway, I wonder where we're going next week for Formula E Accelerate. Yeah, it's almost like we thought this through. Yes, when we get back from Diriyah, the next round of Formula E Accelerate will also be on the Diriyah circuit, and the real Formula E drivers will be racing on the sim whilst they're there, with those points counting towards this team's championship.
And that includes Oliver Turvey. To get him in the mood, it's time for him to tackle the New York City lap for our lap time challenge. So if you want to make your way out onto track, when we were just watching that video, I said, right, time to get it. And he went, oh, I forgot about this. How are you feeling? Confident then?
Yeah.
Great, okay, some good insight, classic insight there from Turvey. Let's take a look at the leaderboard at the moment because Oliver Rowland is at the top of it on a 1 minute 15.755. Abby, you did your lap a little earlier on. If you want to watch it, you can go and see it on Twitter and social media after this show. How did you find it?
Don't watch it.
Don't
Give
watch
it a miss. Really tough. Pressure gets to you when you've got a one-lap shootout. So, yeah, no pressure, Ollie.
Thanks.
We're all watching.
Right. Well, this is the lap time from Abby Eaton. It was a 1 minute 19.518. So that slots her into...
I've set the bar low for you, Ollie. You'll be fine.
5th position then for Abby Eaton. Charlie Martin drops down to 6th place. Now all attention turns to Oliver Turvey. In the sim, the real Formulary driver, the real racer who's raced on these streets before, up against his contemporaries in Oliver Rowland and Sam Bird, who were separated by just 0.04 of a second. That's the kind of tight battle that we're going to be seeing. Any last words, Oliver?
Hopefully I won't break my hand this time.
That's very true. OK, here he comes through the final corner at New York City, down towards turn 1, starting the flying lap. He'll get on the brakes. Oh, nice and early. Then turns into the first corner. Actually, that looked pretty neat. I'm joking here, but that actually looked pretty neat and tidy. Now through the next couple of corners. The problem is as well, I don't know if you found this, Abby, but the drivers get to practice in silence. When we're actually doing it, I'm shouting. Is that off-putting?
It's extremely off-putting, Jack. I'm sure many people have told you that before.
Yeah, in the YouTube comments right now. Here he comes into the left-hander at the end of the back straight. And swinging through the right-hander. This is the corner at turn 10, where it all went wrong a couple of years ago, but hopefully we'll be safer through this time around. Onto the brakes, into the left-hander. It's looking neat and tidy, to be fair. Very neat and tidy. Through the hairpin. Are you finding this intense?
Yeah, it's harder than the actual qualifying.
A couple more corners to go. Down towards the docks on the left-hand side. Oh, towards the wall on the exit, just keeps it out of the Tech Pro. Big hit on the curbs. Final couple of corners for Oliver Turvey. What's his lap time going to be? Is he going to be in the mix with the Oliver Rowlands and the Sam Birds of this world? Cuts the timing beam, and the lap time to beat is a 1 minute 15.755, and it's a 1 minute 16.460. So that slots you comfortably into 3rd place, a very comfortable 3rd spot, 7/10 behind Bird and the like, easily ahead of Alex Lynn. Satisfied?
Was not far off my best in practice. So.
OK, performed well under pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so that's it. We're halfway through Formulary Accelerate. Don't need that anymore. Oliver Rowland tops our leaderboard here in our studio challenge.
Yes, and on the leaderboard of Formulary Accelerate, it's Erhan Yovski leading the official standings in the battle for the €100,000 prize pool.
In exactly 2 weeks' time, first free practice will be getting underway for the new ABB FIA Formulary World Championship season opener.
So yeah, we will see you from there. But then remember, let's meet back here in 4 weeks for the resumption of Formula E Accelerate.
Thanks for watching and all your comments and messages. Thanks to our tiny COVID-safe crew, and thank you as well to our lovely guests.
Thank you guys. Well, stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.